Hey, hello. Hello. Who feels very awake and really like, whoa, let's do this just after lunch? Yes, you're on team, let's do this. Citily, you're also, right? Hi, it's so nice to see you for a room. It's about monitoring, and it's about making investment matter because you invest in the right things. I'm your chair of today's session. I'm Maren Hovels from GIZ. We have a full program, and I warn all the speakers, I was asked to go moderately German on timekeeping. So I'll be moderately German on giving you 1 minute notes. And with that, I would like to ask Aidan Cronin from UNICEF to take the stage. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. That's quite an intro to kick off. So I'm going to keep within the German timekeeping rules, and I'm going to be really quick. So we were all here, many of us were here, I think, in this room 2 years ago, where we had a bunch of colleagues from WHO, from SWA, from IRC, WaterAid, Water for People. We were all here, talking about the issue that have advanced to today, and we've made quite a bit of progress in 2 years, I would say, from kind of a theoretical discussion then around, hey, what did the health sector do? How did they take learnings from policies? How did they take learnings from capacity building, etc., and kind of bring it together into a dashboard approach that was easily communicated and people could understand. If I'm supporting a WASH sector or a WASH program, putting money in, but many people are, so where's the kind of contribution versus attribution story? So that's why we're here, is to kind of come up with a core set of indicators that systems work, can rally around, and everybody sees that they're contributing to it, and everybody's work is important, and it's all contribution. I think that's one of the key points. So, what you'll hear today is about a structured approach, a systematic approach, and I think that's very important for this type of work. And one thing one of the key reasons I'm interested in this work is we're in a climate crisis. Every national effort needs to add up to a global solution for a global challenge like the climate crisis. So if we don't have strong national systems that we're able to track and monitor, we're not making progress on a global problem like the climate crisis. So this is not theoretical work. We are implementing this. We are implementing systems work in our programs in UNICEF and in the colleagues from different organizations around. We're learning as we are doing. It's a difficult program, scale, timelines, etc. It's a difficult process, but we integrate it into our regular service delivery work, and each one complements the other. But it's when we come up out of that and we share together that we get a more holistic approach, which is what we are going to be talking about today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And this is a hybrid session, so I hope Claire, are you with us? Claire Chase from the World Bank. Yes, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Maren. Okay, well, it sounds like a lot of energy in the room, so that's great. I'd like to thank WHO and UNICEF for inviting us to participate in the session and really for spearheading this work. I think as Aidan said, many of those in the room, the World Bank and others, we're all working on system strengthening, but I think it's been slower to take shape in this sector, and maybe that's the legacy of the WASH sector. But it's a good thing now that we're talking about monitoring, because the effort to measure and monitor system strengthening is really needed. We need to learn what is working in system strengthening. We need to shine a light on what is not working. So at the World Bank, we're very supportive of this effort. As I mentioned, we've been working on system strengthening, what we call policies, institutions, and regulation. So 3 sort of key factors around systems. But it's becoming, well, I would say that this is core to probably most of our operations, the lending operations that we support, but it's really becoming more critical in this environment of fiscal constraints and the need for raising capital. That requires more transparency, it requires more efficiency, and requires a more stable environment for those investments. So I think it's really, the time is ripe for this effort. A couple challenges that I think are important to keep in mind and have been part of our conversations over the past couple of years on this effort. One is that systems change is slow and it's nonlinear. So it's not about, in 1 year we can build infrastructure and we see the results of that investment. Many of the sector reform stories that we talk about have taken over decades, right? So we need to have some patience. And it's a messy process. By nature of being a system, all of these elements work in tandem. And Aidan raised that a bit about, it's really about the contribution. It's going to be more difficult to attribute to a particular investment and how that's making change on our outcomes. And that may be uncomfortable, but I think at the end of the day, this effort is really about keeping an open mind and doing things a little bit differently to make this work. So with that, I think just to say I'm thrilled to be part of the session today and really looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Here. So it's important to hear a lot of different perspectives today, and I'm very honored to have Max Wenga, Director Policy and Planning from the government of Malawi, to give us a bit of a country perspective on how to do system strengthening. Thank you, Max.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Great. Thank you. Oh, that's very kind of you, Fiona. Thank you. I think she knows that with this great honor, I must be panicking. So, yeah, being a government official, having served for close to 20 years now. So we believe in protocols. So let me just say, all protocols observed. Thank you. Well, it's a great honor for me to deliver this statement on behalf of the government of Malawi on a matter of critical importance, strengthening monitoring system in the wash sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the significance of effective monitoring frameworks in the wash sector cannot be overstated. For any forward-looking institution, tracking progress is essential. Yet for too long, our sector has been burdened by an excess of indicators, and some of which are either inconsistent or incomparable across regions. And this has made it very difficult to assess global progress in a meaningful and unified way. As you know, evidence-based policy making demands clarity, consistency, and reliable data, and that begins with strong and streamlined monitoring frameworks. It is for this reason that my country, Malawi, commends World Health Organization and UNICEF for taking a leading process in this process of identifying core indicators that we as a global community can collectively track and report. This initiative, ladies and gentlemen, is not only timely, but also very impactful and transformative for our sector. As some of you do be aware, in Malawi, we are pursuing ambitious goals in the wash sector as part of our commitment to achieve Sustainable Development Goals 6, particularly by 2030. Among others, we would like to ensure that every public school is equipped with water and sanitation facilities, Every health center has running water. Every market center has adequate safe hygiene facilities. In fact, it should not take more than 30 minutes for our mothers and sisters to fetch drinking water. And in addition, we're looking at the water sources themselves to be free from any kind of pollution. These are not just aspirations, ladies and gentlemen. These are actually in the national priorities, as reflected in our Malawi 2063, which is a country vision of transforming our economy into an upper middle income country by 2063. And actually, we also further reflect these priorities in our national water policy and strategic plan. And therefore, we strongly believe that having in place an effective monitoring framework is how we can ensure that these priorities translate into measurable progress. The work of actually developing WASH core indicators also aligns very well with the current efforts which we are actually pursuing in Malawi, and they do include developing a comprehensive WASH management information system so that it supports data-driven decision-making. And you would also be pleased to hear that in partnership with Water for People, with support by FCDO, we are implementing a WASH system strengthening program. And we do recognize that sustainable service delivery depends on resilient and monitoring those systems must be integral to our strategy. As a nation, we are proud to be among the pilot countries for this initiative. And we believe in the power of strong monitoring to drive real change. Actually, we do encourage other nations to join us. And I would like to extend also sincere appreciation to the World Bank. Claire, thank you so much, and the team for supporting this initiative. And actually, the initiative is not only being supported at global level, but even at the country level. The management information systems that I just talked about, we are also getting the support from the World Bank, together with partners there, the WHO, as well as UNICEF. That's very commendable indeed. For us as a country, we do look forward to continued collaboration with all partners in this initiative as we define our systems. To us, this is not just about data, it's about accountability, it's about transparency. And most importantly, it's about delivering meaningful change to the communities that we are all privileged to serve. It is our expectation, actually, that this initiative will help us to identify the core indicators that should raise an alarm when WASH services are failing to reach the underserved populations, the rural areas, the marginalized groups, and the vulnerable communities. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move ahead, let us remain steadfast in our commitment to building monitoring frameworks that can support tracking real progress in our sector. Once again, it's been a great honor to make this statement. I thank you for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we all know we want government leadership, so thank you so much for leaders leading on this. The next speaker is Lisa Rutsch from FCDO, United Kingdom, from the partner perspective. Thank you for coming.
Hi, everyone. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here, and thank you to Max for his words and the other introductory words. So when I heard about Align to Accelerate, the first thing that came through my mind is a racetrack. I'm sure you've all seen the film Le Mans, 1966, and that's what it made me think about. So Just bear with me while I continue a little bit with the analogy, which you've already heard about systems and mechanics, right? But essentially, you know, apart from the incredible kind of driving capability of Ken Miles, they also took a systems approach, right? They looked at the car, they looked at every bit, component bit of it, and they worked to make that perform to its highest level in order to win the race. So what did it take, right? It took a vision of success. That's kind of future-proof, right? What is the car of the future and how are we going to get to that car to win the race? They also got some finance behind them, but they also had a really strong collaboration across all of the little bits and pieces that work together to make a system work to deliver. So the Le Mans winning team, right, they won that race. But why is it important for us, the SDG 6 team, to win our race? And what do we need to do it? So we know already that we need strong systems. I think we all agree. We've heard it a lot during this conference and outside of it. We need to achieve progress that's inclusive, leaves no one behind, and that's fit for the future. But how do we know if we're getting there, right? So this kind of initiative is really important. We do need to have the data that helps us agree what the priorities are, identify where the gaps are, so that we can better collaborate and complement each other's work. And I think we've been hearing a lot about how important that is over the last week. And it's not just so that we can support, collaborate with each other. It's also how do we better collaborate to support government leadership and government's vision for that strong system. And ultimately, why is that important? Because strong systems build confidence, and that confidence will attract additional finance and investments and ensure that we are fit for the future and that our Team SDG 6 will win the race. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's do this. Some of you came later. Warm welcome. And if you wonder what we're talking about, like A to A, well, what's A to A? There are two very, very small people I would like to call to explain to all of us in great detail, hopefully. What is A to A? Fiona Gore and Kelly Nagler, please.
Okay, we're going to attempt, and I've got these spotlights in my face. But no, Kelly, come and join me. As you've noticed, we're going to be a lot of women. And, you know, we didn't just accept women, we're accepting men. But round of applause. I see your friend over there. Yeah, microphone, sorry. Yeah. Okay, now, I think, Kelly, we don't have huge amounts of time, but what I would like to say is that we're here together. We're here to align, to accelerate. And I think your motto is, from last night, was stronger together, right? Stronger together. Align to accelerate. What are we trying to do? We're trying to make a difference. Right? I mean, we've just heard it from Max, we've heard it from Lisa. Yes, we're here talking about data, we're talking about systems, we're talking about monitoring, but why? Because we want to make a difference. We want to make more progress. We want to accelerate progress. And this is really the fundamentals and the foundations of this initiative, which is a WHO, UNICEF, World Bank initiative, but not only. And as you'll see at the end of our presentation, huge number of organizations, NGOs, you're all welcome to join the movement, to be together and to win and to be on SDG 6 team, right? So, right? I've only seen one person nod here. Okay, a few more nods, a bit of yay. Yay. Okay, that's more the spirit. Okay, so what are we trying to do? We're trying to move the needle. So yes, we're trying to define a core set of indicators, but why? Because we want to make progress. We want countries to make progress. We want to reach each and everyone, everywhere. Now, some countries have successfully made huge amounts of progress over the last 10, 15 years. And some countries have not. And this is based on JMP data. So just noting that the JMP next report is being launched tomorrow at 2 o'clock, so a bit of a commercial break there. On your table, you'll have a paper showing you when that session is. But the question is, why are some countries making progress and others are not? What's that ingredient? What's that difference that's allowing some countries to make progress and others not? And this is what we're trying to do, is trying to assess what are the vital signs that are actually inputting in the processes that are actually going to have better outcomes and ultimately more impact, and particularly impact on health. So the question we're trying to answer here essentially is really, what are the factors that some countries to make rapid progress towards increasing access to water, sanitation and hygiene services and others not? So just to take you back a little bit on this journey, I think, Marion, you mentioned this, Aidan, you mentioned this as well. We started off back 2 years ago in launching this idea about monitoring the strength of wash systems. There's been a lot of work on wash system strengthening, a lot of work a lot of research is available. But at the end of the day, how are we monitoring this? And that's actually a critical question, is how do we monitor the strength of wash systems? And the idea is really for us to come together, to align, to accelerate, and to better support countries to strengthen their national information systems, but not only. As Lisa said, it goes beyond that. It's about strengthening the different systems, not just the data systems and the monitoring systems. It goes beyond that. So the objective of this initiative has been to really develop a common framework that would be comprised of a core set of indicators that we can all agree on. And yes, there's huge amounts of frameworks out there. There's huge amounts of indicators. And Kelly's going to be talking about this. And she's a really good person to talk about this because she actually analysed more than 80 frameworks that are available in the sector, also beyond, but. So just to say that I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the ultimate goal is for us to focus on the indicators, on a core set of indicators, and we're going to tell you what we have achieved and what we have done, because we really want this to be a session where this is about action and doing something. And we'll share with you what we've done and how we've done it. So ultimately, once we will have taken you through these different phases, and we've done a whole analysis of what's out there, and we are now in the second phase of this initiative, where we've got a technical working group, we've got developing expert groups to work on this so that we have a really wide consultation on actually coming up and selecting the indicators that would be part of this core group of indicators. We will eventually want to pilot those indicators as of next year, once we've come up with a core set of indicators. So we're open to any suggestions and countries that may be interested in doing this. But some of you may say, well, what about all the work that's ongoing and all the monitoring work and reporting that's going on at country level, at subnational level? That is all absolutely critical, and this is complementary. We're not trying to invent something new. We're trying to build on what's happening, but we're trying also to reduce the burden from particularly, a global level of what we expect from countries, and to align to be able to support countries so that we're not coming in and asking countries to report on different indicators at very similar times sometimes. So I think the analogy of the iceberg, and allow us to leave the penguin there because the penguin we feel is extremely important. It's the mascot of Align to Accelerate, A to A. But it's really about the pyramid and building on the foundations of what's being reported at district level, subnational level, feeding into the national level, that then feeds into the agreed set of indicators that is aligned with what the SDGs are monitoring and the indicators in the SDGs. I mean, and what may be the future post-2030 and the monitoring that we will be doing there. But I think there's also other initiatives, here on the panel, there's other initiatives talking about developing monitoring climate resilient WASH, and we'll be talking about that and how that aligns with what we're trying to do to make sure that we coordinate the work that we are doing. At the end of the day, what could this look like? So here, we've got a scorecard, which is from the primary healthcare performance dashboard, country scorecard. And I think what's interesting here is that this is really bringing together data from different aspects that really gives the key status of a country. And in this case, this is about health. But this is just an example from the work that's being done in the health sector and health system strengthening, and the monitoring that's being done with health system strengthening. And, these profiles and these scorecards would really allow and can help to identify where systems have bottlenecks, where there's weaknesses and strength, and where action would be needed. So I think we've alluded to this journey that we're on, and this journey really started, with numerous years of a lot of work going into WASH system strengthening and monitoring. And then, as we've mentioned, we had a session here exactly 2 years ago in 23 in proposing how this could work. And then we had a meeting in London in October 23 that was organised and co-organised by the Osprey Foundation and Agua Consult. And that really brought many of us together to try and continue with the thinking. And then we launched the actual initiative last June. Since then, we've gone through phase 1. We did some preparatory work, some analysis, some desk review. Kelly will be talking about that and some of our findings and how we've been processing with that. And we had a large consultation. We organised several webinars, notably one with Agenda for Change, and that was back in April. And we're now moving into the second phase, where we're moving towards a core set of indicator selection through the technical working group and the expert group, and that's going to last over the next 4 to 5 months. The next phase will be phase 3 and the pilot testing. And then phase 4 will be about upscaling and really walking the talk. And I mean it. It's about us walking the talk. It's not about our organizations. It's not about our framework and our building blocks. It doesn't matter what building blocks you use. What counts is that we can all use our own frameworks within our daily work. But what counts is that we all agree in principle towards a core set of indicators that country can report and monitor on, and that we support those core set of indicators, and we're all walking the talk and holding hands and stronger together. So what's the progress today? And I'll pass over to Kelly. Shall I give you the clicker?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Fiona. And I'm looking at the timekeeper, and she's 7 minutes. Okay. I was expecting to be underwater, but yeah, it looks like okay. But I'll talk slowly then. Thank you. So so kind of leading you a little bit through the process of kind of how do you go about this? Because as Fiona said, I think, one of the challenges when we started this process is, of course, that there are many frameworks. There's different terminology. There's different angles that those frameworks have taken. They serve different purposes. And one of the advantages when we saw the health sector was that they already had a common agreed framework. And so we decided that rather than having our goal be to develop a common framework, we said what we want to do is we want to have an interoperable framework, because we don't want to have, we're not going for one sector framework, but we want something that can be workable with other existing frameworks. So we started our process with this preparatory work of really doing kind of a comprehensive outreach to find out about the frameworks that were out there. And so we looked at this really from a multi-stakeholder perspective. So we looked at frameworks that were being used, first of all, at an international level, like internationally agreed indicators. We looked at frameworks that countries were using as part of their policies and plans. We looked at indicator frameworks that multilateral development banks were using to make decisions about how they make finance and how they are tracking finance. We looked at frameworks that are being used by the human rights community, that are being used by regulatory entities, that are being used by international benchmarking for utilities. There's a very wide range of frameworks that are being used. So we tried to look at different examples of frameworks that are also targeting different kind of specific issues within the WASH sector so that we had a very broad base. So that we had a total of, as Fiona said, I think ultimately 82 frameworks that were included. The next thing that we did is we took advantage of the current glass cycle, the 2024-2025 glass cycle, that included a survey question on the type of national monitoring indicators that countries have as part of their WASH plans and policies. And at the time that we were doing this work, at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, we had 64 countries that had submitted their glass surveys and had submitted examples of the indicators that they're using to track progress so that we could get an idea of what indicators or countries are actually using to be able to track their WASH systems. And then we also did a forward-looking review and tried to look at not only what's happening now, but we want to build something that's forward-looking and fit for purpose in the future. I think many people say future-proof. So we did a scan of also kind of global trends. We looked at the work that was done by the Global Commission of the Economics of Water, the work that's done by the World Economic Forum, and some of these other kind of forward-looking surveys to see what are the trends that are also going to be kind of impacting the WASH sector, because especially as we start to look at post-2030, what we're really talking about is 2050. And we need to be looking about what is going to be needed from the WASH sector in 2050 so that we make sure that we're setting goalposts of where, not where we are or monitoring where we should have been, but monitoring where we want to be going. So it was quite a broad effort. But the impact of the broad effort is that we want to narrow it down. And this is really all about also prioritizing and coming down to those core indicators. So we finished off kind of this, as Fiona said, we did a number of informal consultations. We had in-person events at the Water and Health Conference in UNC and online. And then we used all of these inputs to develop kind of a background paper that was kind of the long 120-page paper that I know some people did read, but I think someone made a podcast out of it. So if you'd like to listen to it rather than read it, you can find it on the internet somewhere. But we also had a discussion paper that kind of said, well, how do we go from this to what we're actually aiming for, which is this core set of indicators that are going to be the vital signs of our WASH systems. So we prepared those papers. We had a public comment process. We got a lot of really valuable, kind of rich feedback and insights from our community. I know many of you participated in that. And then we've refined the technical approach. And that kind of brings us to where we are now, which is what we call phase 2. So now I have 1 minute. So I really went over. Am I explaining the background? Okay, so now I have to speak fast. So were we talking last night about the elephant and people looking at the elephant? Anyway, I was talking to someone last night about, yes, we were talking about this, about if you think of the WASH system as an elephant, you do have to look at the different parts of the elephant. And apparently there's also a YouTube video about this. But you have an ear and you have a trunk and you have a foot. So we had to somehow go from, to kind of break the WASH system down into its vital signs. And vital signs, you could also think of this as circulatory system, respiratory system, skeletal system. So we created what we called indicator domain families, which are kind of parts of the WASH system where we're going to be looking for these core indicators. And so kind of we did this analysis of the framework. frameworks to be able to kind of come up with these groupings of topics that are similar. We said we're using different terminology. We're not going to name it, but just to kind of give you a sense of what these families look like. We have, policies, plans, monitoring, institutions, coordination, human resources, financing, regulation, service delivery and infrastructure, participation, behavior change, environmental issues, frontier issues, which is kind of looking at the forward-looking. So we have these indicator domain families where we're going to be looking for indicators that kind of relate to these different parts of the elephant, different parts of the systems. And then we're going to be we also have kind of two cross-cutting areas, one being risk and resilience. So looking across all of these aspects of the WASH system to be able to looking at how we're addressing risk and resilience, including climate change, and then also gender, equity, social inclusion, also as a cross-cutting theme that's part of all of these sort of aspects of the WASH system. So that's kind of the structured approach that we've taken, and this is an intermediate step to help us identify kind of this landscape of potential core indicators. So in terms of the process, it's going to be a 3-step process. So going from comprehensive to prioritized. So the first step, we've set up expert groups with our 9 indicator domain families that are going to be first nominating indicators that they think are kind of the types of indicators. We have a set of criteria that can be considered to be core indicators. Then we're going to compile those nominated indicators into kind of a long list. And we're going to be using a decision-making tool called XLEAP to be able to assess those indicators and select the ones that we want to take forward with us. And that's going to be doing a quantitative assessment where we're going to be kind of basically kind of rating and ranking them. And then we're also going to be having a kind of qualitative discussion board about those indicators to create kind of a storyline and a narrative about the types of indicators that we think can be kind of core indicators from each of our families of indicator domains. And then that's going to be done by the expert group. And then we have a technical working group that is going to be looking at the indicators that have been sort of selected to be able to really take us down to that core set of indicators. And that's going to be through a prioritization process. And, all of the 9 domains may go forward. Some of them may not. But we're kind of going from a comprehensive approach towards this core set of indicators. And really the aim of the SLIM set is to get to 15 to 18 core indicators. So I hope, sorry, I've gone over the German timekeeping, but she's been very, very kind to give me another minute.
Moderately German, yeah. I said moderately German.
So thank you, and happy to answer more questions if they are, but I think it's good to get to the panel, so I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you. And I got that email, and I scanned it, and I was like, okay, I have to read 2 documents, by XX and comment. And I started the first document, I was like, okay, I'm going to read 120 pages, and I read all the 120 pages, and I was like, oh, the next document, oh, it's 4 pages. Yeah. Anyways, panel, we are having a panel. I would like to ask Sitali from Sanitation and Water for All to the stage to invite your panel yourself. And we might move some furniture, to have more space.
Have you changed the questions, Fiona, just before the panel starts? Good afternoon, everyone. Come on, good afternoon. After such powerful chairing of the meeting, what's wrong? What's happened? What happened? You don't like Marin's mild German timekeeping? You know, when Kelly was speaking, I enjoyed the presentation that you made, but she was just so fixed here and she was just talking. And I was thinking, is there a teleprompter somewhere there so that I can, when I come here, I should also be looking there and just to see the words flowing. That was a powerful presentation. Thank you very much. So I have a job that is usually an easy job. But Fiona has got, well, I don't know who else was planning this session. Whoever was planning this session, they've complicated it for me. They've prepared this session in a way that it is one of the most powerfully intimidating sessions. I am not sure if in World Water Week there's another session with a panel only of powerful women. And that's the panel that we're going to have. So I'm going to call to the stage my colleagues that will give us insights into this discussion. We have Kate, if you could come up to the floor. A big hand for Kate. We have Laura Bosma from IRC. Am I about to eat the mic? Is Bethlehem not here? Bethlehem not here, right? She's online. Okay. I am looking for Bethlehem. She should be online. Bethlehem, are you there?
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Good afternoon. And thank you for joining us. Could we have Barbara Evans to join us, please? And Leslie. Leslie Porris, please come and join us. Thank you very much. So I look at Aiden, I look at Max, and I feel like we are the ones who spoiled this program. The three men that were thrown in there as a tokenistic response to gender balance. But this is a powerful session. Thank you very much. And please, we're just going to have a conversation, so feel free, be relaxed, and let's just enjoy this discussion. Kate, I'm going to start with you, and the question that I will ask you is, which is the question you know actually, how is A2A beneficial to countries, and how do you envision your organization supporting the initiative?
Thanks so much, Sally. So Water for People has been a long believer in supporting government-led wash system strengthening. So the A2A development of the indicators has come at the right time for us. So it's quite exciting to have this because it will definitely help in the way we work. So we are happy to support this. And how we will support this? We have three ways which we think we can support. First of all, Water for People is a founding member of Agenda for Change as well as One for All Alliance. And we will use these alliances to help and mobilize others to support government in piloting as well as also rolling out when time comes. And we will use the existing government forums that are there, either technical working groups or joint sector reviews, to share the learnings that are coming through the pilots. So that's one way. And another way also in countries that maybe there are no members for One for All Alliance, maybe we're just the only ones, and maybe also there is no Agenda for Change, active Agenda for Change collaboration. The good thing is that Water for People works very closely with governments wherever we're working. So in those countries, we'll definitely use our relationship with government and other sector players to also help support government in piloting as well as in rolling out when time comes. And lastly, Water for People is one of the members on A2A technical working groups as well as the expert groups. So we use also that in one way or another on how we can support the A2A initiative. So thanks so much, Sally.
Thank you so much, Kate. Fiona, Could you give this lady over there a chocolate? She was clapping really very well for Kate's response. Thank you very much, Fiona. Oh Thank you. Okay, so I will ask the same question, Leslie. If you could, it is real chocolate, real Swiss chocolate. Leslie, if you could respond to the same question, how is A2A beneficial to countries, and how do you envision your organization supporting the initiative?
Yeah, so thank you and welcome everyone. It's great that you're here. WaterAid is also very involved in the Align to Accelerate initiative, and we've been very proud and are excited to be working in collaboration with everybody on this. We feel that this initiative is incredibly beneficial because it does help create essentially a common language that the indicators can really help us use to communicate with each other. We think that this can also do a lot to reduce, if not eliminate, the fragmented monitoring that does happen. And again, I've highlighted in other conversations that I've had this week about how important it is for us to really be able to compare what is happening across different countries and contexts, really compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So this will make us really good, I believe, and we believe, that this will do a lot in moving us in that direction. And in so doing, it will really enable us, we believe, to actually do the system strengthening work that is so core to everything behind Align to Accelerate, to Agenda for Change, which I know Bethlehem will speak to as well. And this is what's really exciting and why it's worth the effort. I was listening to Kelly's work, it was like, wow. And I know from seeing what is going on with the expert groups how much effort there is going in behind this, but it is going to be worth it, and it will advance us as a community. WaterAid in particular, in addition to participating, similarly to the way Kate was highlighting, we think that we can do a lot at the country level and ideally globally through advocacy and convening. WaterAid is present in 22 countries around the world, which is a pretty decent footprint. And we think, and we've been in many of them for a minimum of a decade, if not longer. So we really think we can leverage that kind of relationship and standing to actually really convene and advocate for the uptake of these indicators. We obviously want to embed the indicators in government-led monitoring. And we also think that there's a lot we can do with knowledge transfer or translation as it needs to be done, and really forward a learning agenda. As I said, common indicators allow us to compare, contrast, and then learn from each other's examples, and again, advance us forward. So we're very excited.
Thank you so much, thank you. You should have seen how Aiden was clapping for that chocolate. Sorry, no chocolate for anyone, Fiona. You follow my instructions. No chocolate this time around. Not because you're responsible.
Are you trying to order a woman around right now? Is that what you're doing?
No. It's just because we do not have enough chocolate. There's enough for everyone. Thank you so much. So Bethlehem, if we could come to you, and you have the opportunity of all of us here to have the perfect background with the branding of Agenda for Change. The rest of us here in this room can't. So good to have you. And Bethlehem, the question for you is, are there aspects of the monitoring done through your organization that can be aligned with A2A core indicators?
Thank you, Sitali, and thank you, everyone. And Sitali, congratulations for your courage on moderating such an esteemed panel.
I am shaking, Bethlehem.
I can see, but you're managing well. Congrats.
Thank you.
No, thank you for that question. So are there aspects of the monitoring done through Agenda for Change members that can be aligned with A2A core indicators? Yes, much of what we do already speaks directly to A2A. Across Agenda for Change countries, we support governments in developing and applying diagnostics that track areas such as functionality of services, financing flows, and equity of access. And these are vital signs of a system's health. So many of these efforts can be mapped to the A2A core indicators, creating a bridge between local data collection and the global framework. So this not only avoids duplication, but it can also ensure that evidence collected at the country level can genuinely inform the international picture while staying useful for national decision making. Back to you, Sitali.
Thank you, Bethlehem. That was so short and sweet. Thank you so much. I am not... Yes!
You can have some
Fiona.
chocolate too.
Could you give Lindsay some chocolate? I am doing this really with a very hard, heavy heart. I was trying to avoid giving you chocolate for reasons that you know, but you're going to get chocolate because you clapped really well. Thank you so much. So we're going to go to Laura, and the question for you, it's the same question that I asked Bethlehem, which is, are there aspects of the monitoring done through your organization that can be aligned with the A2A core indicators?
Thank you for the question, Sitali. And I think the short answer is yes, but I'm going to give you the longer answer. Before I dive into the A2A, I would like to explain how IRC does its monitoring. We do monitoring at 3 levels. What we do, so our activities and outputs, what this leads to, the outcomes and the strength of a WASH system, and what this delivers, so the services for people. Since 2019, IRC has used the building block scoring methodology to monitor WASH system strengthening in our focus countries on national and sub-national level over our countries and districts. We do this together with stakeholders, normally led by governments, but we also work with NGOs, civil society, and communities. And they jointly assess scores against agreed benchmarks using evidence. The discussion behind the scores are actually as important as the actual scores because they create a shared sense of strategy, they create alignment and strengthen accountability. We do this on a biannual basis, so we have a database, and this allows us to see where our theory of change works and where it doesn't, and where we alternate our strategy. And as Kate already mentioned, we're also part of the One for All Alliance, together with Water for People and Water for Good, and we agreed to have a shared theory of change, a shared strategy, and also a joint monitoring system. While all the organizations do use different tools, we use the building blocks, and Water for People use the sustainable service list, we do agree on a certain set of common indicators. And interestingly, we have also scaled this work. Since 2024, IRC leads on strategic monitoring on their FCDO's WASH Systems for Health program across 6 different countries in East Asia and East and West Africa, applying a similar building block approach to track systems change. And WASH Systems for Health is seen as a stepping stone to the A2A indicators. And they're also part of the expert group. And I see that Lauren is in the room as well. So if you have any questions about WASH Systems for Health, I think she's the perfect person to ask. But now back to the A2A. The building blocks that we monitor are closely aligned to the domain families that Kelly just presented. We have 9 building blocks, and the domain families, even though they're not labeled, they're very closely aligned. So you have finance, capacity, institutional capacity, policy, advocacy, and so forth. So we are actually very excited and committed to take over the A2A indicators. And we see it as a huge opportunity that we finally have some common language, because we all know, we've been in this sector, some of you longer than me, but that system strengthening obviously is very important, but it's very complex. So it would be so nice to have a common language, such as with safely managed services, as well as with systems change. So IRC is committed and excited to contribute to the expert groups and the technical groups, and that we can make a difference over time. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind just walking over there and giving the lady at the back some chocolate? The one on the phone?
The one on the phone.
So, Barbara, we come to you.
Yeah.
Yes. So, how are the climate indicators being developed going to fit into A2A, and how will they be aligned?
Perfect. Well, I just want to say there's evidence already of alignment, because I hope you noticed that we all dressed in blue.
Oh, yeah.
I got the memo too. I got the memo too.
Amazing, huh? Yeah, so just for context, some of you may know that at the same time that the A2A monitoring activities going on, JMP and GLASS are also curating a process of developing some agreed indicators for climate resilience sanitation. And to my mind, that process is almost a product of the A2A culture. You know, the idea that we need some consistent indicators specifically around climate resilient sanitation. It's a slightly different process because it started from an evidence review, partly because kind of easier to do an evidence review for climate resilient sanitation. System strengthening is very difficult because of the attribution contribution problem, but we can ask really specific questions like, you know, do we know precise characteristics of certain types of sanitation systems that make them stand up better during floods? So we started with an evidence review. We've then gone through a very similar process to the one you saw with expert groups, a lot of public consultation. I apologize profoundly to any of you that nobly went through our 690 candidate indicators, but that's how many have been proposed in literature and in evidence. And I'm here to tell you that fully less than 3% of those have been tested for their actual linkages to resilience. So that's a huge problem we have in the sector, very similar problem. Nonetheless, there's a process going on. We're going to end up with some candidate indicators for climate resilient sanitation, kind of about the same time, slightly ahead of the A2A agenda. The interesting thing is that those span across a sort of theory of change. So right in the middle is things you might immediately think of, the attributes of sanitation, water and hygiene infrastructure that might make them more resilient. But we're also interested in the adaptation actions that service providers or users do in order to make themselves more resilient. We're interested in actions around water resources management. We're interested in actions around coordination with drainage and solid waste. And then behind that, of course, are all the PIRF type activities, policy, institutions, regulation, and finance that drive those behaviors that result in those infrastructures which are or aren't resilient. And we're also thinking at the outcome level about how do you measure a resilient outcome. So just to say that there's a perfect Venn diagram where I would say the left-hand end of our thinking overlaps beautifully with the central part of the A2A agenda. So for me, they're two nested activities, and I'd like to think that in the end we'll just end up with a family of systemic indicators, some of which will be really speaking to the climate resilience agenda, but then there'll be a Venn diagram that sticks out on the end which has some technical, what you might think of as more kind of like JMP type indicators that will also be in the climate resilience agenda. Back to you, Satali.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Fiona Pavin really wants that chocolate. She went on and on and on and on and on clapping. Please give her a chocolate. So I'm going to ask you all one question. You can take 30 seconds, 1 minute. The shorter, the better. I was thinking you have an option to skip out of this question, but maybe not if you want chocolate at the end of the day. So the question is this. So, no, it's going to be easy. You'll see it. So the question is, how will your organization support piloting and rolling out of the core indicators in countries or in whatever space that your organization works? So how will your organization support the piloting of these indicators, either at country level or in other spaces that you work? Bethlehem, is it okay if we start with you?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, thanks again, Satali. Interesting question. It's quite forward-looking, which is great. It's quite timely. How will Agenda for Change support the piloting and rolling out of these core indicators at the country level? So through our work in more than 14 countries with 24 plus members, our role will be to act as a bridge between global ambition and country realities. So we already have a convening role across multiple countries through our country collaborations, which are now evolving to include government and NCSOs. And these collaborations provide a fertile ground for piloting the A2A indicators. By anchoring A2A within these ongoing processes, we can support governments to test and if they are adapted to implement in their own contexts. So this way, piloting doesn't just sit as an isolated project, but it is embedded in broader system strengthening work, increasing the likelihood that A2A can become a tool for countries, tool that they own and sustain over time. So ultimately, the key point is A2A must work for countries because national governments and local actors are the custodians of the WASH system. Therefore, our role as Agenda for Change will be to ensure that this framework strengthens government leadership, it aligns partners around a common goal, and helps turn monitoring into meaningful collective action. Back to you, Satali.
Thank you. Thanks, Bethlehem. Thank you very much. Thank you. Fiona, you're right close to the person who deserves the chocolate. You don't have the chocolate. Whenever you can deliver, please deliver some chocolate to Dr. Max Wenga. Thank you very much. Okay, so shall we come to, I think we can start with you, Barbara, and then we'll go all the way back to...
Cool. Yeah, so mine would be slightly different because obviously I'm a researcher and I'm an educator. I'm not embedded at country level. So for me, the thing that I want to be doing is equipping early career and young professionals with the ability to understand what monitoring is for, how important it is, how we do it well, how it connects to the generation of evidence, and how we articulate and communicate the research that generates that evidence back into the policy cycle. So that's how I kind of see the role that we can play. I've got a couple of my former students around here. I'm going to test them later and see how well I'm doing that.
Thank you so much. So there is an exam coming up for former students. And I think some of your former students actually were really hesitant to clap. But we'll pick.
Oh,
she deserves the chocolate, Fiona. She deserves the chocolate. Thank you so much. Leslie.
All right, so this is interesting because I sit on the policy team. And so actually when it comes to the programmatic work and uptake across the 22 countries, I'm not the best qualified person to speak on behalf of WaterAid for this. But what I would expect is that one thing we would do first and foremost is where and how we can incorporate these indicators into our own impact measurement and really make sure that we are doing what we can to how they fit, how they work for us, how we measure our impact before we're really promoting that at the country level. So I would expect that there is an internal process that we would be taking first, and then using all of the devices at our disposal, like the ones that I've highlighted, including, that also Bethlehem has highlighted, that Kate has highlighted, to make sure that once we are understanding and confident about those, we are also collaborating so they are working for the government as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I've never seen a man clap so fast. Martin really wants some chocolate. So thank you, and we go to Kate and then Laura to finish.
Thanks so much, Stanley. I'll emphasize some of the points that I mentioned, is that as Water for People, we are a member of a number of alliances, including One for All, as well as Agenda for Change. And we use this as a tool or as a platform where we can work closely in those countries where we are. So we are in 9 countries as Water for People, but as an alliance, we are in many other countries. And we work through those other partners and through those collaborations to make sure, through our country leads in those countries, to make sure that we support government, national government, to pilot. So we'll start with the pilot. We may not do these pilots in all the countries, but we know some of the countries that are really ready to go. For example, for Malawi, we are working on the Wash Systems for Healthy program, and we are actually measuring the strength of the wash systems. So we have a tool that we are currently using, but we can easily align and see how best that can also contribute in the pilots to the A2A.
To the A2A. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you mind passing some chocolate to the lady over here? Right over there. Thank you so much. Okay. Our sister over there.
Gentleman claps very, very loudly and proudly, and I think he deserves a chocolate.
He does.
I am sorry. I have been avoiding the mild German timekeeping this time. So my eyesight has just been going this way because I'm scared Maren will say it's time over. Please give him 2. Give him 2, please.
But you have not even 1 minute left, so please proceed. Thank you, Sitali.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Laura.
Thank you, Sitali. I think my answer is going to be very related to what Kate has been saying, because we're both, IRC is also part of the Agenda for Change Alliance as well as the One for All Alliance. So what I thought of is that IRC will help promote the A2A indicators by pilot or promoting and advocating it to national and subnational governments, where we usually work for. We support them through technical assistance, but also advocacy. and hope to see that they see the advantage of the reduced set of indicators and prevent indicator and reporting fatigue, what the 828 will probably do. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think you closed this panel with a really good point. How do you also avoid reporting fatigue? Or, Kate, you're not going anywhere. Fiona, if you do not mind coming over here. And, you know, I don't know whether it's a factor of age or whatever it is. I'm now getting... chocolate. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I get these adverts on YouTube that say teenagers are now building businesses using AI, while adults over 40, the only AI you know is ChatGPT. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm over 40 and they keep reminding me about this. But if I could ask AI to do one thing for me, is to deliver chocolate to Bethlehem. Bethlehem, thank you for joining us. Stay on. We'll have a big hand for you.
So, Charlie, I hope you weren't assuming that we were over 40. I mean, look at us.
No, I implicated myself in the thing I said, no one else. So Fiona, if we could give our panel some chocolate, please. Thank you so much for their interventions. And we're now going to open for questions from you for a short discussion. German timekeeping, how much time do we have? Quite some time. We have some time. Very good. Okay, so if you have a question, just raise your hand. We have a microphone. It will go around. You might get a chocolate if you ask a good question. But so anyway, anyone who would like to start, any question that you have? Comment. Fiona, what happens if there are no questions? We close the session?
Well, actually, I have a question.
There's a question. Pavin has a question.
Go to Pavin. It depends on your question. Let's hear the question first.
Thanks a lot. It's really been great listening to this, especially because I think over the last couple of days, we are all on the same page with regards to the priorities as we see them, in terms of accelerating, in terms of integrating. And today, as we talk about systems change or system strengthening, that accountability is an important part of it. What I've appreciated in the presentations and the discussions has been the positive element of what we plan to do, what we intend to do. But I'd actually love to sort of take a step back and maybe hear from some of you in terms of where you see the challenges being. Because I guess, we have to, whenever you're coming at an issue, you need to both anticipate what you can do, but also anticipate some of the challenges that you will need to sort of overcome. I'd love to hear from you, any of you, in terms of what are some of the things you currently see as critical to potentially prepare for in terms of challenges.
Great, thank you. I think that's a really good question, and maybe we can take another one before we...
Does she get a chocolate or not? Was that
I think she's designed very good questions purposefully to get more chocolate, but I think we have enough chocolate for Pavin. Thank you. There's a powerful question. Do we have any more? I think there was a hand somewhere there. Did I see rightly? Do I need...
Yep.
Right next to Pavin. Okay.
You want chocolate as well?
I already earned one.
You already got some chocolate.
I'm aiming for the second. Well, I would like to ask. I've been through the report and I saw that there was because it was promoting AI with helping you analyzing the indicators, as I remember. And I hope we did use these tools because now we have all this data easier to be analyzed and easier to look at indicators and see the communality of it. And I heard a lot that you're talking about the common language and how important the common language is within our sector. But how about the language between our sector and the private sector? Because we have the SDGs indicator, we have our own world, I feel, that we always keep reporting and we know among each other, but also there's a lot of vagueness with regards to what SDGs indicates. And I remember, Leslie, we heard that from you through Aquafed intervention, and that stuck with me because it's a reality. So how are we also keeping in mind the language of linking it to the private sector where we are actually hoping to attract to basically advance these services, because we cannot keep pushing this on our own as a development sector. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Really good. Two good questions we've received. Could we go to Mari and then Bishwa? Sorry, I think I'm...
That's Daniel.
That's Daniel?
That's Daniel there.
Daniel Peddy.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. Good to see you after a long time. Yes. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. Good to see you. You get chocolate before you say anything, because I made a mistake. And then Bishwa at the end there, Bishwa Deep.
Okay, you get a chocolate. Oh, this is a preemptive chocolate. You might want to take it away.
No. It's for a different reason. I made a mistake.
Incentive instead of a reward. Okay.
It's an apology chocolate.
Okay. I have 2.5 questions. First question, will this new monitoring framework and these indicators be able to be used in conflict, crisis, affected contexts? And how are you thinking about working across, I'm not even going to use the N word, but how are you thinking about working in these contexts? We saw the JMP data. We know that fragile contexts are furthest behind. We saw that cholera cases are highest in these places. We know that systems change work is difficult, but in protracted crisis, conflict, and fragile settings, we cannot ignore the need for systems thinking, systems doing, and also the ability to pivot when crisis occurs. Great. How will you think about that? Okay. 1. 2. ODA has decreased by 40%. I have been shocked and alarmed by how little this is being spoken about in the sessions I have attended in this week. We don't efficiency our way out of this gap. We don't collaborate and coalition our way out of this gap. Foundational services that have been provided with and through ODA and soft money will disappear. In this context, when you're trying to do systems change work, how will we account for the fact that there will be less soft money in the system? And the half question is for Barbara. Barbara, why just focus on climate resilient sanitation? Why not include water and hygiene?
Yeah, sorry,
that's a half. Done.
Yes. Okay, easy question. Sorry,
thank you.
Terrible.
So then
Slip on my part.
We'll go to Bishop Deep, and then we'll come back to the panel. Thank you so much, Daniel, for the questions.
Thank you. I think before I get to my question, Sitali, you deserve a bag full of chocolates at least. You've earned it.
But you only get your chocolate after we assess your question.
So I was angling for that. But I just want to pick up from the last point that I think Laura made, and you picked up the reporting fatigue.
Yes.
And because we as Water for People, we work with communities, we also work with local governments, and we see that on a day-to-day basis. So the question is, most of the data that somebody collects from a village or a district level, they see it disappear into some black hole that gets that emerges in a report or a dashboard at the national level. The question is, can the same data be given back to the communities and local governments for them to use it and make it much more accessible and usable by them to take decisions, so they see some value in that data, and that acts as an incentive for them to send up good data. I mean, we haven't spoken about the quality of data that gets collected, but this could be one way of designing the monitoring system itself, where the data being collected is first used by the people who are collecting the data, and the same data can be used for reporting and dashboards.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Bishop. I think you do deserve the chocolate. You deserve the chocolate. And we're going to pause at this point so we can get some responses. You've got a half question, but you might also decide to answer some of the full questions. Quickly, we start with you.
Super quick. Yeah, one of the big challenges, actually, what I was going to say about the big challenge, you've kind of raised it. I think we are really bad at using data. And it's not, I mean, like we beat ourselves up in the water sector. I'm here to tell you literally every infrastructure sector that I work in is really rubbish at using data. So yeah, that's a challenge. That's something we have to really build capacity. The one thing I would say, being, I mean, I'm not super old, I'm not super young, but I've been doing this for quite a few years. I think the capacity to use data is rising at the local level. I mean, the capacity at local level is unrecognizable from when I was first working in Bangladesh, Pakistan in the early, late 80s. It's incredible how much capacity there is at local government. So I'm very optimistic about that part. And there are tools in AI. But the other risk is also linked to AI. I think there is a risk because all the A2A areas are prone to a problem in monitoring terms, which I refer to, it's a technical term, blandification. It's sort of so easy. Like you ask somebody like, do you have a policy which indicates an intention to do something? Yeah, I definitely have one of those. Look, I wrote it in the first paragraph. And I think AI will get very smart at blandifying information. So there's a kind of new challenge coming, I think, which we just have to be mindful of, that we have to find ways to make this, I think you hit the nail on the head, we've got to make this information, we've got to link good information with people that want to use good information to actually do good programming. And I don't really have an answer to that, but I don't think we can pretend that isn't a challenge. Again, just to say as an educator, that's maybe a role that is important for us. We have to not let young professionals and technicians and people off the hook on the kind of data science, data analysis side of their skill sets, for sure.
Great, thank you. So we move very quickly to Leslie and then Kate and Laura.
Okay, there's a lot in there to unpack, and I actually think I want to address both the ODA and the private finance, because I do think that they are somewhat linked. And I'm hopefully going to say this in a concise way that is followable. But so I think first and foremost, these indicators are primarily more or less designed for us as a community, not the private sector, and I think that's okay. I think that what you have to do first is, oh, shoot, now I'm losing my train of thought. Okay, what we are seeing in terms of ODA is definitely declining. We are also seeing ODA is going to be delivered differently than it currently does now. At the last session where I was, the World Bank was emphasizing programming for results-based financing. There are more sessions on that now. That is, with less finance, everybody wants to see their ODA having more impact, so there is going to be an increased pivot that many organizations in this room and beyond this room are not yet ready for fully. I think that aligning around these indicators and really measuring ourselves and our performance against those is a good place for us to align and to start to be able to again, sort of look at our own impact and be able to express that impact in a way that can resonate with the new form of ODA that is going to be moving forward. It won't necessarily answer all of it, but I do think it's very, very important, and I do think we as a sector do have to really be thinking about that, and these will help us. I think what that will also help us to do, right now the private, the World Bank's report from last year, the private finance only makes up about 1.7% of the overall portfolio. They did not project that that was going to change, and that was before USAID collapsed, right? And there are many reasons for that, and a lot of them have to do with systems. They are not going to, I heard someone from SEB talking about earlier, they're not going to invest in a place where there is no trust. They don't believe the systems will hold because these are these are decades-long relationships, right? So what we have to do is we can use this data, we can use these kind of indicators, right? We have different indicator groups around institutions, et cetera, to understand where and how we can make those kind of cases to the private sector, where we also are going to have to be even more creative about not just expecting the private sector to pick up the tab and looking at how we employ different types of resources like guarantees for fragile areas, right? The private sector is not going into fragile areas. Traditional donors were already moving out of that. How do we get more proactive in that space? How do we activate Islamic finance, et cetera? We can't just expect all of the private sector to fill that gap. We have to think about a more diversified portfolio. This gives, I'm sorry. This gives us a framing and an answer to also make a stronger business case. That's my answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leslie. And we'll go very quickly to Kate and then Laura. Bethlehem, if you could prepare 30 seconds response.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sitali. I think Leslie has pointed out or responded to so many of the questions that were already asked. Mm-hmm. So I'll just focus on one, especially on the challenges that we need to prepare, or maybe that might have been considered before. And I think for me, the way I look at it, it's the main reason why we're actually here. So WASH system strengthening, it's something that it's there, it's been tried, and there is that belief that yes, it works and it can improve sustainability, it can help to accelerate achievement of SDG 6. And a number of organizations have been trying certain tools, so there may be certain tools that people might have been trying. And with the align to accelerate, maybe some will start thinking, okay, but we have this, we have that. So I think maybe breaking that and making sure that everyone else comes on board and aligns to at least the core indicators. I think that's what the challenge, but I think it's being responded to, and it's being, I think the align to accelerate is here now to help and deal with that challenge. So I think we're in the right direction by meeting now, and also by what WHO and UNICEF and others are doing.
Perfect. We are literally in the very last minute of this panel. So Laura, over to you, and then we'll go to Bethlehem.
Yes, so I would like to address the challenges one and the fragile states one. To add to what Kate was saying, I think one of the challenges is also that governments need to see that this is a meaningful addition to their reporting, that they take ownership and be accountable. That is not only a reporting, but they also see it as an action. And organizations such as IRC and Water for People can support, but government has to lead. And coming back to your question about fragile settings, there's this paper by Agenda for Change Partners about humanitarian contacts in WASH systems in humanitarian contacts, saying that there's always a system, even though that one is very, very fragile. So I think from my perspective and from the paper, it's very important just to highlight or see where the gaps are and focus, for example, on data collection and monitoring and have additional support to that. So, because you can actually do systems change. And with fewer indicators, maybe not easier, but more tangible.
Great.
So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Those are really short, quick responses. Bethlehem, could you close us off, please?
Sure. Thanks, Natali. I will respond to the ODA comment and also the challenge. I agree with ODA declining. I think we as a sector need to get better at demonstrating the real return on investment from system strengthening and highlighting that these aren't quick wins, but the impact is lasting and multiplies across programs and countries. I do believe that Agenda for Change is quite opportune for what the future is asking for around convening partners, sharing evidence, showing that investing in strong systems is the smartest and most sustainable use of limited resources. Parvin highlighted a question around what do you anticipate as a challenge in taking A2A forward? And one of the biggest challenges I think that we anticipate is that unlearning the way we have qualified results and impacts in the sector so far. Unlearning how to move beyond short-term outputs to value the deeper systems level change that truly sustains service over time for everyone everywhere. But with that in mind, I think we can, calibrate a framework and avail a framework that countries are able to future-proof WASH investment going forward. Back to you, Satali.
Great. Thank you so much. A really, really big hand for our panel. Feels like it's the beginning of a conversation, and I think there's a lot more to be covered. So let's continue with the rest of the program and outside.
I was sneaking up on you.
Please. Oh, she deserves some chocolate, by the way.
I learned the hard way that when you're moderating, don't eat chocolate, don't drink anything milky. So thank you. That's for later. What are the next steps? Sophia Murad, WHO, sorry. I should have taken that chocolate. Sophia, please.
Very much. Between my waddle up here and my black and white outfit, I'm starting to feel like Fiona's penguin. But that's good because we're going to talk about next steps. So what are the ways that we can get involved and what are the next steps in this process? Kelly very nicely laid out the phases of what's happened so far and where we're going. So the first step is these expert groups, right? They're coming into play between September and December. They're gathering, they're looking at these indicator groups and really trying to narrow them down as much as possible. The next thing that you all can do is join the A2A mailing list. There's a link to it in the slides that'll be uploaded to the session. This will be really great for you to keep up to date and be involved going forward. Because after that, early next year, there's going to be a public consultation. And I think we heard about how important this is in the monitoring frameworks in getting communities, smaller NGOs involved. So this public consultation will be a way for you also, if you're not already involved, to give some input to these indicators. And finally, volunteer to join the pilots. We're looking for volunteer countries to pilot. You can get in touch with WHO or UNICEF or the other partners and connect that way and join the next phase of A2A. Over to you.
Thank you. You only took 2 minutes. You're my hero. You're saving my timekeeping. And before I hand over the closing to Susan, I would just ask the speakers and whoever wants to stay for the picture afterwards. So if you're team A2A, stay with us for a picture. And with that, I head over to Susan Dundon from Osprey Foundation. Very important for that work, Susan.
Well, I really don't think I'll need 5 minutes for my closing remarks, but I really just wanted to start out by saying that I work for the Osprey Foundation, and we are a foundation that defines success, not as a tap, a toilet, or even access to wash, but as the delivery of sustainable wash services, right? So if that's our definition of success, how do you get there? We firmly believe that system strengthening is the only way to get there. We've been a very early adopter of the system strengthening approach. And as anybody who's worked with me in the last 2 years, I often say that, you know, I'm one of the band of believers in the system strengthening approach. And I think after today's meeting, I realized from Lisa and from Fiona that maybe we're also like pit team water SDG 6 with a penguin as our mascot. But I don't really care whether it's I'm on the team or I'm in the band. I know I have the heart, I know I have the soul, but what I don't think we have is the evidence. And I think that this project will help us go far in getting the evidence that we need to show that system strengthening is what it takes to get sustainable services. And so that's the reason why we support it financially. That's the reason why we're supporting it with our time and expertise. And I want to thank you all for doing that as well. I think it's going to be a critical advocacy tool to get others on board. And not just an advocacy tool to get people on board, right, because that's critical, but it's also going to be an important planning and analysis tool for the ones who already are on board, right? So they're going to be able to know how to do it better, where they're weak, where they're strong. And so it's forward thinking, and it's also, I think, really critical just for those of us who are already believing in it. So I just want to say, like, to take the race analogy even a step further, I think we are in the final laps, right? It's been a long time. I would say at Osprey, we've been looking for this evidence for 10 years. The fact that this started 2 years ago and we are where we are right now, to me, I think is pretty amazing. So if you're already involved, stay involved. If you're not involved yet, please get involved. The one thing I would say also is it's an extremely open participatory process, and hundreds of people are involved. And there's room for everyone, and there's lots of work to do. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoy being one of the band of believers or on the team, and play your part, and thanks very much. So with that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I declare this session closed 2 minutes ahead of time. So thank you for coming. Stay for the picture, and otherwise have a brilliant last days of the week and have a good coffee break. I hope there's cake.
Sorry, I didn't coming to say hi when I arrived at the table and I was like, I'm Jessica, formerly